When you look at the two of us, the first thing you might not think is, wow, they are two All Star Academy champions. Well, you would be wrong, because me and this little legend here absolutely went and smashed it. Somebody who didn't even think getting on the show would be a possibility, to go there and win it was just, I just still can't really believe it. So I'm going to take you guys through all of the process, what made me decide to audition, what it was like on the run up to it, what we had to do, all the preparation I had to do, and what it was like when I was actually there, and then winning it, and then getting back to reality, and how that's been really, and how that's changed mine and Belle's lives. Hopefully wherever you're watching this is a bit warmer and more comfortable than where we are right now. So get yourself settled in, get yourself a cup of tea, and let's talk about Horse and Country's Mochara All Star Academy. Back in April of 2024, something I'd been waiting what felt like years for was announced.
We're not entirely looking for the best rider. We are looking for an all-star. We'll be testing you from dawn till dusk. Good luck.
I've been watching Horse and Country since I was a teenager, when I didn't have my own horse and I was desperate to be part of the horse world in some capacity. And the All Star Academy is something I'd always dreamed of auditioning for, but never had the courage or support to do it. So after the Lemieux All Star Academy aired, I sent an email to Horse and Country asking if they were currently accepting any auditions for another All Star Academy. They told me they currently weren't, but to keep an eye out for it in the future. In around March of last year, I decided I was going to start taking content creating more seriously, something I've always wanted to do and never had the courage to. With such a supportive boyfriend and with Belle on livery at such a great yard with the loveliest people, I started to make videos on TikTok and began to grow a small following. This was enough that it gave me a huge confidence boost with my content creating. I was seriously enjoying making the videos and getting so much joy out of making friends along the way. So when the All Star Academy auditions were announced in April, it felt like the stars had lined up perfectly and I was not going to let this opportunity get away from me. As soon as the auditions were announced, I told Duncan straight away and I got to work on planning my audition. I knew I was going to have my work cut out for me. Neither me nor Belle are particularly glamorous, exciting or athletic in most people's eyes. Obviously, I think Belle is the coolest, best thing in the universe. But we all think that about our horses, don't we? And I knew I would really have to pull all the stops out of the bag to get us noticed and considered for the show. They say that luck is just when preparation meets opportunity. The opportunity was here, so I had to get prepared. We filmed so much stuff over the course of a few weeks. Lots of different locations, variations on the script, different poses, and it took me so long to decide which parts to use in my advert and which not to. So after lots of panicking that it wasn't good enough, that I didn't want to send it off, that it was embarrassing, all the rest of it, I just closed my eyes and hit send on my application. And then it was the long wait in limbo while the application process closed. More videos got uploaded to YouTube every day on the Horse and Country channel. And then finally, mine appeared there too. I got the phone call about midday on a Friday at the end of July. I didn't believe it at first, and then I just cried. I don't think I really heard anything other than the fact they'd chosen me. I rang Duncan and he thought there was something seriously wrong with me and was panicking until I managed to get out that I'd been chosen to be on the All Star Academy. After that, it was all systems go. First things first was to get myself and Belle in a good regime for building our fitness. I took up swimming, which I never actually properly learned how to do, so that's another bonus that All Stars has done for me. I upped Belle's workload and penciled everything in for checks. Saddle reflocked, teeth check, back done and done every few weeks on the run up to her going. We practiced loading every single day, getting her happy in the trailer, making sure she would be happy in there for such a long journey. We had the vet come to check everything over. We left no stone unturned, because if I was going to drag Belle 5 hours across the country for a week of challenges, I would make sure she felt her absolute best for it. I just thought I would show you as well what I'm working with 2 weeks before we go to possibly the most important event of our lives. Mine and Belle's joint life, that is. Here's the mane. Do you know what though? At least this bit's grown back. That was all completely bald a few months ago. So one bonus of having a pony that grows lots and lots of hair. But look at this. I'm sure some of you are going to love this bit. So this bit here, this bit of half mane that is probably as thick as some people's normal horse's mane, that is where I clip out so that this is less thick. Not that it works very well. And then this forelock never gets touched because it's so cute, isn't it? Yes. She's going to have a clip next week, aren't you? We're going to be bald. Because yes, I'm going to be bald all over. Say goodbye to this and this. We're pretending we're not a native pony. We like as less hair as possible. Oh yeah, I need to do this as well. Spiky. And yes, I clip the tail. I do not pull it. Come for me. And it's extremely thick. So what I do is I cut a chunk out of the black bit. I can't find where my short bits are. This is the thing, it grows so fast. My mum actually wants a bit of this tail for her rocking horse, so I need to do that at some point, but there's so much of it to go round. And I've got 2 weeks to do everything in.
It's Wednesday today, and I go to Talon on Monday. I'm here with Gemma, and we're with Yogi and Belle. I really need to jump Belle today.
During the time between being accepted onto the show and leaving for it, we were tasked with filming 2 challenges prior to the show. 1. We had to film a dressage to music test. Here are a few clips of my practice test. I actually preferred this test to the one that ended up on the show. You'll have to let me know what you think. And here's a little snip of the test which ended up on the show. This was honestly not music that I would have picked, but Carl Hester liked it, so that shows what I know. And we had to film a social media reels challenge. which was to be about our lives outside of horses. This was like trying to script my audition all over again, and I thought, oh my gosh, well, I'm probably not winning any ribbons for my riding, so I'm really going to try and get this social media reels challenge in the bag. Spoilers if you haven't seen the episode, but I did not have it in the bag, and I worked super hard on it too. You'll have to go and watch that episode and watch my pain in real time with that one. In all of this time, we had no idea who the other All-Stars were. None of us had a clue. Until a week before we were due to set off for Talland, we found out when everybody else found out. Sometimes getting to know people in the horse world can be difficult. We all know how it feels to meet a difficult person on the livery yard or out competing. But Horse and Country handpicked some of the best people I've ever met, and I feel so lucky to be part of this group. Before we knew it, it was time to set off for Talland. I hope the microphone works on this.
I'll show you what.
Hello. I'm currently filming from my tablet because Belle is in the trailer. She was a bit stressed out this morning, to say the least. So, one, we're running a little bit late, and two, I had to strap my phone into the trailer playing John Mayer for her because for some reason John Mayer suits her. Not a fan of Enya, but John Mayer puts her right to sleep. So we are currently 7 minutes away and I have not managed to be sane enough to make any sort of vlogs before now. This morning I felt so sick and I said to my mum, I said, I need to vlog something before we go. And she said, oh, well, you'd better stop looking so pale then.
That's such a typical.
I'm not driving, by the way, obviously. Duncan's here. We've been in the car for about 4.5 hours now. Belle's been in the trailer for about 4.5 hours listening to John Mayer. Hopefully I still have a phone when I get out. Fingers crossed. That would be nice.
99%.
So yeah, now, oh my god, I can't believe we're nearly here. So yeah, I guess we'll see you when we get there. So after the longest journey I've ever taken with my horse, 5 hours it took us, we finally arrived. I was kind of a bit sort of like, oh, what's happening? But obviously, don't forget that my phone was actually in the back of the trailer with Belle. So I had no way to contact anybody. I had no way to know if anybody else was here yet, anything like that. So I just thought, right, well, first things first, let's get Belle out of the trailer. So I did, and I got my phone out. She looked absolutely fine, actually. So I was really glad for that. I was really, really worried about the long journey for her. All of the preparation, all of the stress, all of the worry about Belle, all of that meant I hadn't properly prepared for the fact there would be cameras there immediately. Once I'd got her off, the film crew turned up and they said, would you mind, do you think she would be okay if you put her back on the trailer and got her back off again so we could film you coming off the trailer? And actually, even though, she'd been on there for a long, long time, I thought it might be a good idea for her to just practice just walking up on it again, because I don't want to get to the end of the week and her last kind of feeling of the trailer would be, I've just driven 5 hours in this, I don't want to go back on that again. So I thought actually that might be a good opportunity for me to just reload her back into the trailer just so she knows we're getting on but we're coming straight back out again and we don't have to be worried about it. I'm just talking to camera, being very awkward obviously because it was my first kind of taste of having the camera there, so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. And all the stress of the day had kind of like gotten there safe, so it was all my adrenaline had kind of come down, and then immediately I was like, it's all the adrenaline comes straight back up again. It was a very big long day. I got Belle settled into a stable, I met the other All-Stars, and then pretty much straight away we were filming. We were told that we were going to be riding that same day. So this was a little bit of a worry for me because I thought if I was going to be riding, probably something like a nice gentle hack would have been ideal for me really, with having such a big day for Belle. So I was a little bit worried about that. We needed to put our jumping saddles on, basically, they'd said. I mean, I only have one saddle, but some of the others obviously have like a jumping and a dressage saddle. That obviously told us all we needed to know really. But I just thought, well, I don't have to push Belle in any capacity. We're just going to take it super easy. So So got into the arena, cameras were all on us. It was really exciting but very scary. I just can't stop thinking about how much easier it would be if it wasn't Belle that I came with, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously I wouldn't ever want to do it without Belle, but just all the worry, like I was just constantly thinking, is she going to be okay? How does she feel? Belle's quite a stoic little horse, so she doesn't often present her stress in a way that's obvious. She's not going to be running around her stable, she's not going to be pacing. She just gets this little crinkle above her eye where you can just see that she's just feeling a little bit of anxiety, really. We're very similar in a lot of ways. I just wanted her to be able to relax, so I did think that maybe having a ride that might just take a little bit of the stress out of her, and obviously I wasn't going to push her in any way. The first challenge, you want to make a good impression. That's the first time anybody's ever going to see you. So I just thought I can get on my pony and I can have her going with her head all tucked in and lovely and bust out all the dressage moves, but I didn't want to do any of that. I basically hacked her around the arena until somebody spoke to me and asked me to do anything differently. So I had her on a long rein, I had her stretching out. I pretty much, you'll see if you watch that first episode, I am very rarely out of walk. I had a lovely chat with Charlie, and then we moved down to the other end and I had a nice chat with Tom McEwen as well. Do you know what? I was so blooming stressed and thinking about everything else. I did not recognise Tom McEwen because usually you see him on TV and he's got his hat on. He was just such a nice guy, and I was just having a lovely chat with him. A testament to what a nice guy he is. And he had some really nice advice for me. He said that not every horse is bred to be an athlete, and same as every person, not every person is bred to be an athlete either. I quite liked that way of looking at things, you know, rather than sometimes you'll go to somebody who is very knowledgeable and they will try and get you to do more than your horse is comfortable and confident with. Especially, I think, in terms of jumping. All the horses were super giddy when the poles came out. They were all absolutely going nuts over them. It was hilarious. Even Belle was like cantering on the spot at one point. It was quite funny. Then they put a little grid out for us and we popped over the grid a couple of times. And actually, it was a nice start. All credit to them. I was worried about this first kind of module, but really, it kind of went really well. They did it the right way, basically. They had a nice long warm up for us. They didn't pressure any of us to do anything more than we needed to. They weren't saying, go on, have a canter around, blah, blah, blah. When I was actually there, I was completely thinking, well, that was the worst first impression I've ever made on anybody. They're absolutely gonna think nothing of me because I did nothing. I thought they would just think I was almost ignoring what we were doing, but actually when you watched it back, Pammy said the thing she was kind of looking for was somebody to not make a big impression for the first time. She doesn't want someone to make a particularly bad impression, but nor would she want somebody showing off everything that they've got when they first got there. The thing I really love about Pammy and why she is one of my biggest kind of idols in the sport is that she's so serious on taking horse welfare seriously. Beth and Andrew were chosen as winner and runner-up, and watching that episode back, I was really surprised to see that I was mentioned by both Tom and Pammy as in their top 3.
So I wasn't originally planning on adding in this chapter, but it felt like a big chunk of the story was missing if I didn't add it in, even though it is kind of hard to talk about and think about. Nobody wants to feel vulnerable, especially in front of people that they don't know or haven't met before, and especially on the internet. So that being said, this was the message that I sent to Duncan on the first night I was there at Talland. I got Belle settled in for the night, I made sure she was comfy and happy, and then I went over to my trailer to go and get my luggage to take to the room. It was pitch black, pouring down with rain. I dragged my suitcase out with a little bag on top and wheeled it across the pitch black car park, and the little bag that was on top of my luggage just fell in a puddle, and that just broke the camel's back basically, and I just felt awful. We don't get to hear any feedback from the judges while we're there, so we kind of have to leave it up to imagination. We only hear who's won and who was in second place, so we don't hear anything else. So I was under the impression that I had made a horrible first impression and that everybody was going to think that I was absolutely rubbish at riding. Why have I come here? I thought there would be a million trolls waiting on the internet to roast me about the fact that I'd gone onto this show and I didn't belong there. I was making up in my head all these scenarios and all of these imaginary people that were going to pick on me. Everyone I was up against was people who have been competing at a much higher level than me. I was super aware of the fact that I was about to be shown on TV in a room full of the most beautiful people you've ever seen, Meg and Tina for starters, and then all of the All Star Academy cast who looked like they'd been handpicked by America's Next Top Model. I just thought basically that people were going to watch it back and laugh at me and that I would just be kind of the butt of the joke. I was feeling very insecure, very stupid, very small. Yeah. Good job you were there, wasn't it? I could have gone to Mel, who was there for this exact reason, but I was so self-aware of the fact that this was such an amazing opportunity and I didn't want anyone feel like squandering it or not appreciative of the invite. I knew I was being silly basically, and I think just the stress of the day and worrying about Belle and it's such an early start as well, 5-hour drive. It was the biggest day I'd ever had, so if you will, please forgive me for feeling like that. It's hard to share because obviously you want everybody to think all the time that everything is lovely, but it isn't always. Even when you get opportunities like this, it doesn't always go how you think it's going to go. Eventually, I kind of got over myself and I gave myself a little pep talk. Duncan obviously helped. I had a little phone call with him where I just basically complained about everything and said, I know I'm being really stupid and I'm not making the most of this opportunity that so many people would just claw their eyeballs out for. Sorry, that was a bit macabre. But day 2 turned out to be, after a slightly rocky start, it did turn out to be the best day of the week. The second day started out a little bit rough, but it ended up being possibly the best day of the week, even over the last day, just because of how it turned the whole week around for me. It began with a stable check, and I was actually just about to come back in with a feed for Belle. I think I actually gave it to Gareth, and he went and put it in for her, because I was too scared to interrupt. I knew I wouldn't be winning the stable check because there was about 5 buckets and 2 wet hay nets in for Belle. She had a wet mash, a lick mat, 1 normal water, 1 water with electrolytes, and 1 hay net each side of the stable to encourage a bit of movement, plus another feed about to go in. Fifi was chosen as the winner of the stable check because she bought a toy for Nebo, which is so adorable and I love that. Then we all gathered in the Bedmax bedroom and waited for the guest judges of the next challenge.
To our social media heroes. Woo!
Hello guys. Where are we sitting then?
Take a seat on the day beds, guys, on the day beds.
God, it is a day bed, yeah.
So sitting on the shavings bales, we awkwardly watched back the videos we had created to showcase our lives outside of horses. Possibly one of the more uncomfortable moments of my life, to be honest, so the less said about that the better. As I alluded to before, I didn't get a rosette in this one, and to be honest, I was just quite glad for it to be over. It was then announced that Gemma Owen would be joining in with the judges riding that afternoon, and my heart sank, because I had this dream all along, from as far back as auditioning, that Pammy would be the one that would ride Belle.
I'd love for Pammy to ride her just because she's such a hero of mine, so it would be amazing.
And I knew Gemma would most likely be riding the smaller ones, and as Belle was the smallest of them, well, you get the idea. So we tacked up and headed into the arena. We were left to ourselves while the judges took turns riding. I loved riding around with the Talland riders on their fancy dressage horses. I watched as Pammy, Charlie and Gemma rode each horse, and Belle was the very last horse to be called forward. When she was called forward, it was Pammy, and she said she would be riding Belle. It was such an honour, and I was so excited to see her on Belle. This was like my dream come true. She was probably on her for about 5 or 10 minutes tops, and then she called me over, and, well, you'll have to see for yourself what she had to say.
The finger beckon. Buckle in, guys.
And I'd like to give you the biggest compliment. The easiest of my 3 rides. The least complicated. Goes for a whisper from a leg. Steadies. I haven't ridden her nearly enough, but she gives obedient, tries, a little bit on the forehand, as you said, stiffer to the left. If I had one criticism of the 3 horses that I sat on today, or not criticism, but things that could be better, it would be that all the canter work needs improving. So, but so nice in the hand, so quick off the leg. Yeah, well done.
Then they made me cry.
Yeah?
Real.
Good. Well, just pop on, have one trot, see I haven't ruined it.
Oh, thank you.
Quick.
Oh, you're so special.
I held in my tears because nobody wants to cry on TV, but wow, it was such an emotional moment for me. All the years I've devoted to my pony, to hear somebody like Pammy give me such a huge compliment on how she's trained was just unreal. I was then awarded Pammy's Rosette for the judges' ride. This time, let me show you a much more upbeat message Duncan received shortly after. Now that was the end of episode 2, but it wasn't the end of day 2. And the next thing we knew, we were back in the Bedmax bed, looking at the screen again. And now it was time for Carl Hester to judge our dressage to music. And here's what Carl had to say about Belle.
Joining us is Molly. She's riding an all-rounder 14-2 skewbald called Belle.
Okay, well, I'm very partial to a skewbald. My career in dressage started on a skewbald called Jolly Dolly. So I'm excited to see this. Very attractive skewbald as well, I might add. Beautiful markings.
And somehow, I won. And not just that, but it turned out that Pammy and Charlie awarded me another rosette on top of that. Having watched it back, it made me even more incredibly proud because the comments that accompanied Charlie and Pammy's choosing me was because of mine and Belle's partnership and harmony. And to me, that means more than anything. That the bond and the love that me and Belle have is just as much an achievement as any other part of the sport. To me, that will always be my biggest achievement, having the amazing bond that I have with my girl. So there you go, they got me. I tried to sneak off for a sneaky cry with Belle, and then the cameras were there, and I'm crying on TV. All of the anxiety, stress, worry, all the feelings of inadequacy, of not being good enough, to then win 4 rosettes in one day, and to climb to the top of the leaderboard. I was overwhelmed, I was elated, I was on top of the world. It was everything I ever wanted from All Star Academy. In fact, it was way more than I would have ever dreamed would happen. So at the end of that incredible day, I made my very first diary room entry. And I hope that there is somebody out there who can relate to this feeling, who won't judge me for having that moment of doubt, and will be proud of me for getting over it. It's hard to feel like that, but it's also very hard to watch it back too. I got here and I was just like, oh my god, like, everybody's amazing. I'm not sure I fit in here. And like, obviously Belle's amazing. And she's obviously proved that today, but yeah, I was kind of doubting myself. And then today has just been so unreal. To finish off the most incredible day I've ever had, we actually got to watch Pammy Hutton herself riding a freestyle test on Ebony. It was absolutely amazing to watch, and Pammy Hutton is just the most strong, inspirational, amazing horsewoman ever, and I will just always be in awe of her. So day 3 was show jumping day, and I was so up for it. At this point, I just thought, well, I can relax now. I've had the best day ever, and I'm just ready to enjoy the rest of the week now. I was actually already thinking that I definitely wouldn't be in the finale, and I was quite looking forward to a day of no stress. So all the pressure was off, and I just went into the show jumping and had fun. William Whittaker was the guest judge. Belle was loving life.
'Cause you got me feeling like I'm lucid dreaming, got me flying high. 'Cause I can't believe that I get to have you close on an endless road. I'm levitating now in one of those lucid dreams.
Gareth won the show jumping and Fifi the runner-up. Some of the others did want the jumps up a bit higher, but I was glad they weren't. It's not that we're not capable of doing a bit bigger, it's just a lot of pressure when you're in that sort of environment, and you only get one go each. Plus, I think in the equestrian world, people get too hung up on the height of the fences. I think Horse and Country probably just didn't want to risk unnecessary falls or injury by hiking up the fences, especially when to enter the show you only needed to be comfortable at 80 centimetres. So that afternoon, we all piled into a taxi and we went off to Naylor's to do the Naylor's shopping challenge.
We're about to go to Naylor's. Yeah. We have absolutely no idea what we're going for. All we know is who we're paired up with.
I was paired up with Julia, who was the best teammate ever, and I really wanted us to win so Julia would get a rosette. As it happens, I love a little quiz or a riddle, and I was in my element. We had so much fun on this challenge, and we won it, of course, because Julia was rapid, and I was firing out the answers before I'd even read the whole clue. Then on the horse simulator, Julia won another rosette, so I was so happy. I'd had an amazing day. I will say though, on the way back, even though I was having a great time, I was quietly having a panic attack in the back of the taxi, just seemingly for no reason. This is the thing, is when you have mental health issues, you can be having a great time and it can just sneak up on you. I'm really proud of myself for, in that moment, just breathing through it. I put my head down, chewed some gum. That's a little tip, by the way, because if you chew, it helps your nervous system regulate and it can make your body kind of stop the fight or flight reaction. And then once we got back to Talland, I was fine. I was right as rain.
Although we were all getting progressively more insane as the week went on.
It was amazing.
I'm going to do the character that on the reality TV shows, it's like the front runner that's like really horrible to everyone. You're now going to be like the underdog that's climbing up the ranks.
I'm going to flip my lid.
No, that's wrong.
Day 4 was a big day of riding, and Mother Nature had decided to bless me with her monthly gift. So I was in a lot of pain that morning. I was also mucking out Max that day as well as Belle, because he was very stressy in his stable, and Julia was struggling to muck out as he wouldn't stand by himself. The Schoolmasters Challenge was seriously worrying me. I don't ever ride horses other than Belle. I'd been really lucky in that I'd ridden my friend's horse a few times prior to Talland, and that definitely helped me to feel more comfortable with getting on a giant dressage horse, but it was still very much into the unknown. Rocky was chosen for me, the most beautiful ginger angel you've ever seen. He had the most teeny little pointy ears. I absolutely loved him, but I was still terrified of him. Lucy handed him over to me. Up I got, and for goodness sake, I wanted to cry again. Why was it so emotional? I was only walking around doing some bits of leg yielding, shouldering, etc. But the thing I thought was, it just feels right. Like I am capable of riding this horse and asking these things of him. I know what I'm doing and I'm not out of my depth. I was talking to Pammy and she was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, I don't know, I'm just on my period. And she was like, I did struggle massively with the sitting trot, and I asked Pammy for some advice, and she did say it's probably not the easiest day for you with that, but we did work on it a bit and it definitely helped. I think overall the Schoolmasters gave me the most help with my riding from the week. It's definitely where I learned the most. And if you can, I highly recommend going to Talland and riding the Schoolmasters. I will definitely be booking to go back there sometime. Becky won the challenge and I was so happy for her. The night before, we'd had a big heart-to-heart. She felt like she wasn't doing well, and I tried my best to reassure her that she's amazing, because she is, but the whole situation is just so difficult and hard to understand, especially if you've not been in it. Her winning the challenge was just the confidence boost she really needed, and she really is an amazing rider, and she looked absolutely incredible riding Maddie. Next up, we then had the Equicizer Challenge. Basically, a plastic horse with a racing saddle on. We had to see who could ride it for the longest. If I'm honest, I did not make much of an effort on this. I know, I'm sorry. It's just, I can think of a million things I'd rather do than sweat it out on a racing simulator in front of a load of cameras. And I was last to go, so I picked out a reasonable number, which was 20 seconds, and I counted in my head till then. And then I just dipped. Don't get me wrong, 20 seconds was plenty hard enough, but I definitely didn't push myself to the limit. Quite honestly, I don't think anybody did. You need to think how uncomfortable that challenge was for us. Judge us if you've done that before, but doing something like that in front of a whole camera crew and some very well-known equestrian influencers is not the easiest thing in the world. So Andrew aced it and also got an extra rosette for style. Honestly, very well deserved.
I also think Fifi deserved a rosette. She was really going for it, and the reins were even like hitting her in the face. I would have definitely given her a rosette for the sheer amount of effort put in. But Andrew's 3 rosettes meant that he leapt into the lead.
And I had to give up my leopard print base layer. I wasn't too mad about that though, because I only had that one base layer and I'd been in it for 2 days of riding now, so it was quite nice to put on a clean base layer for cross country. Now then, the cross country. Well, I've never done a cross country before in conditions like those.
Belle doesn't have shoes, and the field we were doing cross country in was very wet. It had been raining non-stop, like to the point where there was weather warnings and floods in the area. So what I did do was take everything as steady as I could, which admittedly was quite tricky because Belle was being a keen bean. She was happy to be out in a field after 3 days in. We met Laura Collett, which that was very, very cool, but I was slightly preoccupied with thinking that me and Belle might be upside down shortly. I took the paths with the best takeoffs and landings, and I tried not to make any sharp turns. I jumped a ditch for the first time, well, other than like a 2cm one, and Belle absolutely yeeted us over it. I have to say, I was very impressed watching all the others. The confidence, the speed.
Kiss me in the rain tonight. I'm here at the borderline, waiting for you patiently.
Julia was incredible and thoroughly deserved the win. The best thing though is that every time that Andrew and Bon went out to jump, Jade and Beth would narrate from Bon's perspective. It had all of us completely cracking up. I've asked both of them to send me a little voice note of it so you can see what I mean.
I feel like Andrew. I think there's a bit of banter going on here, isn't it?
Oh, for heaven's sake, Andrew, just strap in and hold on.
It's a little bit unsafe here. It's okay, Andrew, I've got it.
Don't kick me, Andrew. We have to tackle this next one safely, for goodness sake.
Oh, Andrew, it's a little bit slippy. I mean, I'm not happy with these ground conditions. Oh, we're still going, are we? Oh, okay. You just sit there, Andrew. I'll look after you. Yep, we've done it.
Steady, Andrew. Don't get too carried away now.
I'm not very happy about the situation at all.
So with Julia getting 2 rosettes for the cross country and Beth 1, that put Andrew, me, Julia and Beth in the finale. I was completely shocked. Little Belle and me made it to the finale of the Mochara All Star Academy. I couldn't believe it. I was ready to go home that first night, and now I was about to go into the final. Everybody chose their partners for the finale, and I chose last, meaning I was automatically paired up with Gareth, who was quite possibly my complete opposite. I thought this could only be a good thing. I definitely needed a bit of his confidence and calm. I thought, you know what, let's do this. I'm going to do my best. I've gotten through against all odds. My audition was picked. I'm going to go and I'm going to do it for every person who's ever felt like they weren't good enough in the sport. Everyone that's been made to think that their horse wasn't fancy enough to amount to anything. We're doing it, and no matter where we come, we're going to show people that we deserve to be here. I washed Belle that evening because I knew we would be doing a turnout challenge in the morning. I used the Smart Grooming Blue shampoo on her legs. It's amazing, by the way. It had them so white. The 4 of us had to learn a new dressage test too for the next day. And when I fell asleep that night, it was with my dressage test propped up against my pillow. At last, the final day was here, and it was all systems go. We started with the turnout challenge with Louise Bell as the guest judge, and plaiting is definitely not my strong suit, but Gareth also had no idea how to plait, so I got to work. Unfortunately, Belle has the thickest mane ever, so I needed about 20 plaits in total. Thank goodness for Tina Wallace. You might know her as Life on the Left Rein. She completely saved my butt by plaiting from the other side of Belle's mane, even though she hates doing it. I was about to have a meltdown. There was just not enough time. But we did it, and I thought we'd done a pretty great job. I'm a little bit miffed about the fact Andrew got a better score than me when he only had to do 3 plaits and he had no white bits to clean. No shade, Andrew. But I actually think I deserved a bit of a higher score there. Almost had a nervy B for a 6.5 out of 10. Next up, we had our dressage test, and we were introduced to none other than William Fox Pitt as the next guest judge. The nerves were definitely starting to get to me, but before I went in to do my test, Mel said to me, ride down that centre line with a big smile on your face. So that's what I did. And actually that might be the best life hack for riding a dressage test that I've ever been given, because even though I made a couple of silly mistakes in my tests, I felt like it was the best I'd ridden all week, and the best bell had gone. Everything just felt smooth and flowy and wonderful, and watching it back, hearing the judges' comments is just incredible. What wonderful comments to receive.
Pleasing to watch, very harmonious, a really good partnership there.
So although I didn't know it at the time, that put me out in front. Then it was the Pony Club Games. We were given these blow-up horse suits to wear for it, which was so funny. And then we met the 4 Pony Club riders who we would be teaming with. The boy on the coloured pony picked Andrew straight away and said, "We're gonna win." I asked the rest of them if anyone would like to team with me, and that's when Tilly said she'd like to. How lucky I was to have her and Darlie on my team. Darlie was the most beautiful, soft, lovely pony I've ever met, and I just wanted to take him home. We were told what we would need to do for the race, and I internally panicked a bit about the fact I had to throw a ball and hit a target. I do not have good aim, but as it was, our team did an amazing job, and we pulled second place finish out of the bag. Andrew and Fifi and their Pony Club partner did indeed win, and someone needs to sign up Fifi and Nebo for Pony Club Games. They were rapid. Finally, we came down to the last competition, the arena eventing. As I walked the course and eyed up this particularly chunky solid fence, I said to Charlie, "Do you think I can do this?" And he said, from what he's seen this week, that we are more than capable. I waited until last to go in, listening to everyone else before me. Now the point system was interesting because you didn't actually lose points if you missed out a fence, so I could have won if I'd avoided the big jump I was worried about. However, it would mean I would have to jump every fence perfectly and cleanly with no faults whatsoever. A couple of the others had had poles down, and I was so close at this point, I just couldn't afford to not give it everything we had. So I got in there. I heard Laura Collette, William Whittaker, Tom McEwen and Charlie Hutton in my head saying, "Go faster!" Belle completely understood the importance and she threw herself into it. She helped me out when I just wanted to shut my eyes into the roll top.
Go on, Molly. Straight. She was worried about that.
And I helped her out when I needed to set her up for the long 2-stride double.
Well done.
And we went clear, and we'd done it, and we had won the Mochara All Star Academy.
Well done.
You did it, Molly.
That's it, we know Molly has done it. She has won the Mochara finale.
I also thought Molly had a great understanding of her horse.
Yeah, she is horse mad, and I think that's obviously you need to love. That's why we do it.
And I'd like to give you the biggest compliment.
From a harmony between horse and rider and fluency, one of my favourites.
Looking for 2 words that I always love: ease and harmony.
Very harmonious, a really good partnership there.
It was so nice. She's done all the work on it. Of her rapport with her pony.
Her partnership.
The partnership.
Yeah, they really worked together, weren't they?
The one helped the other out at exactly the right time.
That's a good way to put it.
A good job, because she's done it all herself.
So, what was next for the winner of the All Star Academy? Well, everything was just suddenly back to normal. Duncan helped me pack away and off we went home. And at somewhere around midnight, we pulled back into the yard and set Belle out into the field back with her friends. Obviously, other than to my family, I couldn't tell anyone I was the winner, so my celebrations were pretty much non-existent. I also received some very upsetting news shortly after I got back. The worst part of life, moving forward and ever-changing. So my mental health took a very big downwards loop. It's to be expected after such a huge event in life. I'm sure most of you will have experienced against that feeling of being a bit low after having such a massive high, and the week really did take a toll on me. I like to use the expression of having a certain number of spoons to use each day, and if you use up more than you have, you suffer for it the next day. I'd been using about 5 times the amount of spoons I have every single day at Talland, and I needed some time to get them back. In my downtime, I started thinking and planning what mine and Belle's next steps would be. I've always wanted to pursue my dream of being a creator on YouTube. I love storytelling, and I love the artistry and getting the videos and putting everything together to create something that entertains, inspires, and brings a community together. I know it will take a lot of learning, practicing, patience and effort, but it's something that I'm very passionate about doing. As far as Belle's ridden career is concerned, I'm still just happy having fun with her, enjoying life together and growing older together. Competitions aren't my favourite thing to do, but I'd like to do a couple of vlogs of some local competitions, maybe even attempt to do our first ever event this year, just for fun. Whatever life brings for her as she ages, she is with me for life, and I will be jumping at any chance Horse and Country give me to do any more filming with them, so hopefully that will be on the horizon for this year. It was just under 2 months after we got back from filming that the episode started to air on H&C+. I'm really glad for having already dipped my toes into content creating, because it was less strange than I thought it would be to watch myself on TV. When it came to the finale, I had been very good and only let it slip to a couple of friends that I'd won the show, so I invited everyone round to watch the finale with me, and it was just the loveliest evening with all my horsey friends. Sam came over from about an hour away to watch with me too, and it was just the best little ending and celebration to such an incredible part of my life, and I got to show off my snazzy rosette and sash. I will be doing another video with a Q&A, so if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'm also going to do a big haul of everything I was gifted at All Stars and everything I bought with my vouchers for winning as well. Thank you so much for staying till the end. This was such a huge journey for me. It might be the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Thank you to everybody who helped make this happen and who supported me before, during and after Talland. Please do subscribe. I will be putting out videos every week, and head over to my Instagram and my TikTok too to get updates and other bits. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!